Okay, I think we should start. Good afternoon to everybody. We are back to our last lecture. I would say of the entire workshop, because my lecture is a bit outside of that, even if I hope it will be part in a certain sense of what we are doing here together. And as we already have seen maybe into the program, our last talk will be about the videos of Pierre Soulages, but not only. Since we visited many times now in Masaryk and Conques, and we saw this wonderful piece of art with those vitros, which are product of an abstract modern painter. And since we have this privilege to have here Masaryk, who is not only, as you know, minimalist, and not only anthropologist of the images, but also a man who wrote a lot about the 20th century, 21st century art. So we asked Hans to give us a short lecture about Pierre Soulages and his vitros. And Hans decided to do it in a, let's say, dialectical way, in the sense that he will speak about Pierre Soulages, and he asked to Adrian Palladino to be the voice of Soulages, so to read the reflections of Soulages on the vitros. So I think it's really important what I had to say, and I think we should start.
Thank you, Ivan. It's very strange for me that the ends of my life come together at this place, Conques. Because on the one hand is the Middle Ages, which we talk all the time, on the other hand is Pierre Soulages, who inspired me to the book I am writing now, and which is not on Pierre Soulages but on Africa. But maybe I can explain it briefly. So the story of my introduction to Soulages may be revealing to all of you. 10 years ago, I was in Valencia, and there was a small exhibition of Pierre Soulages. I expressed my admiration for this artist, of whom I have an engraving in my own art collection. 2 years later, the Centre Pompidou in Paris wrote to me, "We have heard that you are interested in Pierre Soulages. Could you contribute to the catalogue for our great exhibition in the Centre Pompidou in 2011? Then I consulted the literature on Soulages, and I gave immediately up, because Soulages is one of the most written about, one of the most famous masters of French painting in the 20th century. He is practically omnipresent in art literature from 1945 on, when his first catalogue appeared. So after looking at the literature, I said, I'm sorry, I don't want to write another piece on Soulages, because there are already too many. But then I looked into his biography and saw Pierre Soulages exhibition 1974 in Senegal, Dakar. I said, this is not possible. Soulages in Africa? No, I asked them, can I see Soulages and see whether this is true or not? And so they arranged that I could visit him, and I said, did you go to Africa to have an exhibition in 1974? He said, oh yes, my close friend Leopold Sédar Senghor, the president, he even took me in his private airplane to Dakar to overlook and to organize the exhibition. I said, what is this? I never heard of all of this. And so I came to the book on Senghor, which I am doing now, who not only took Pierre Soulages, but also Picasso and other famous masters of the French school to Dakar. Now, Pierre Soulages is, as I said, one of the big stars of the French art scene of the 50s and 60s, and he is present in every big museum of the world. There is no museum in the United States, for instance, where a Soulages is missing. And he has made a deep influence on the so-called New York School, which excelled in abstraction in the post-war times. He is also a magician of color. And this comes now, this is now the introduction to what I wanted to say. His paintings of the 50s, 40s, 50s and early 60s are for me a miracle, because he represents a dark figure like a big sign in front of light, and in the back there are colors which are really bewitching, fascinating me. But he did not stay with this apex of color abstraction. He decided suddenly in the 60s to paint only in black. And since then, to the regret of some art friends, and even including myself, he just paints black paintings. But this is not the program of painting black. His program is to release the light from its substratum and makes the light enter in numerous ways, in various ways, to the painting. In that he shifts the black zone always in a different angle to light. So the light is broken in his paintings in many tones and many gradations, and this is, he became bewitched with this project, which he pursues up to this very day. I have heard that he still is alive. He will be 98 this year, I think, but he is like a big oak tree, you know, unbroken from life, very different from myself, but anyway. So he is Soulage, the singer, the African poet and politician, called him a Celtic indigene from the Central Massif. And that he wanted to say, like I am indigene of Senegal, so Pierre Soulage is indigene from the Massif Central. And when he was, I think, 90 or something, his native town, Rodez, built a beautiful museum by two famous modern architects in Rodez with all his work. So if ever you have a chance to see this museum, which I probably have tomorrow, then please look at this museum, which is a rarity in the French art scene. Now then, he was always saying that a visit to the Abbey of Conques was decisive for his career of a painter. In Conques, he decided to become an artist. So here we are, many decades later. And he then was asked to create the windows. Now the windows we will see in a moment are a counterpart of his paintings, because as they break light in many different gradations. When he finished the windows, he published a booklet together with Jacques Le Goff, the most famous historian, not art historian of the Middle Ages in France, at the École des Hautes Études in Paris. And this booklet was an occasion for Soulage in an interview to explain what he did for the windows, where he got the materials, what was his intention. And instead of memorizing what he said in this booklet, I asked Adrian to consult this booklet this morning, and he will now continue and tell you what Soulage's intentions with the light are. I'm really grateful that you take over this task.
It was my pleasure to do it. I don't know if I'm speaking loud enough and if the sound is for you, the people of the places where you could really feel that he's talking about how he created his work. To come back to what you said about his biography, he says at the beginning of this interview, which is the book, when I was asked to make those stained glazes, I refused. I did not want to make stained glass. Then I was proposed Conques. I remained transfixed, deeply moved. It is a place I know since childhood, since I was born in Rodez. It is in Conques that I felt my first artistic emotions. And he accepted that and said, I let myself be inspired by the monument as it came to us, as I like it with my painter sensibility, and as it is loved today. And he adds, in the end, it is the monument itself that pushed me to do what I did. And then there are three keywords that come back throughout the entire book, which are the words enclosure, opening, and of course light. Since Soulage was called painter of light, he speaks a lot about how he tried to work with the light. I can read one more quote about this question of enclosure and opening. The two words of enclosure and opening are fitting. I met them concretely and in a natural way when I tried to create the light that is a glass, in harmony with the building, with openings of natural light, but enclosure to confine the gaze in the very space of architecture. I therefore looked for a glass which was completely opaque, but which by letting the natural light in appeared as a transmitter of clarity. And he continues, I wanted to distinguish the wall of light from the one of opacity and gravity.
The wall of light?
The world of
The
light.
world of light.
Mhm. From the one of opacity and gravity, which is inherent to the walls. Therefore, I instinctively let the flexible and oblique lines dominate. There are none in the building's architecture, and these lines are what differentiates the wall of light from the one of opacity. The architecture is even more emphasized by the fact that there is no redundancy between the stonework and the glasses. So he tried to create something completely different from the walls, which he, according to him, are very straight. And then about the color. When you say white for glass, it means colorless. I especially thought about a certain quality of light that I wanted to see emanating from the glass, and turn the base into transmitters of clarity. Then there is this very interesting sentence. I observed the windows at different times of the day, and I realized how, from dusk to dawn, changing with the variations of light, they marked the flow of time. And he says, being very touched by the way the flow of time is marked by the light and by the way he has been able to change the light. In Conques, I felt that forms like this could make visible, emphasize, make evident and stronger the beauty of the architectural space. Earlier, we spoke about the primacy of architecture. I want to speak about the primacy of light as being inseparable from architecture. We cannot think about light without thinking about shadow. And the last quote that I took from the text, which is very, very interesting, is about the materiality of the glass that he chose and how he chose the material before choosing even the form. He says, I did not want to create the stained glasses as it is usual, starting from a pictorial process, which is watercolor, and then make by an artisan later. Instead, I was convinced not to obtain anything in this way. I preferred to adopt another approach by creating first the material and think from it. So when you look at the church, outside the glass is smooth as I wished, so it will not get dirty, but inside it is not frosted or dépoli. I don't know exactly how you could translate this, but it is raw and rough. It has a roughness that makes it belong to the stone. The material of the stained glasses is in continuity with the walls, with the closure that are the walls, but with this contradiction of the opening of light. So something which is part of the wall, but which can still let the light go through. So I think it's really those three keywords that we have to rely upon, which is this enclosure, opening, and light. And I really like the light as a marker of the flow of time. a beautiful way of describing it. As we can live it as well every day, going to the church and seeing it at different times. And with Ivan, we did this small movie where we filmed in time lapse during the morning hours, how the light changes, and it's quite stunning, in fact, how beautiful the architecture is really.
Should I turn it?
Thank you.
Okay, then yes. Just what you see here is not the morning, but it's what was filmed by Pavla and Anichka, and it's how the windows are reacting to the sun.
In the morning.
In the morning, but not the very beginning of the morning, but just when the east, I mean the church is oriented, so it was happening on the east. Ale musím to šipečku sadit, to nebude.
Aha, já myslím, že
Ja.
to už Once again.
Thank you very much. So one could say that the windows are built in zones, like a wall is built, but they are built in gradations of light. And this meant to find materials, glass qualities that represent the light. And he says also a lot about this, but he's very technical. But he is a great artisan. He knows all the techniques necessary for his paintings, but also he studied the opportunities for glass that qualifies for this task of entering the building in different colors. So this is a contradiction in the colors of light. But it is the subtle variations of light which enter the building. And he has a pattern in every window as you see it to the left. And this looks suddenly like colors, but there are no colors. I don't know how this comes about. Why we see I see on the right part of the triptych, I see that the gray tones and the variations are exactly how they are. But I don't know how the yellow and the red of the other windows comes about.
When the sun these.
So this is a photograph taken here. This is amazing. This is more than the eyes can capture.
In the previous photographs, you see how it's arriving with the sun. Here
Yeah.
you see very well how it's becoming yellow,
Yeah.
because the sun is arriving, and then when you have, for example, a red sun or things like that, it really changes a lot.
And so the surface of this painting is organized also in layers and zones, which change the entering light according to the angle in the paintings and according to the glass which he uses. So he did not just use transparent glass of the same kind, that would be monotone, but he uses a different glass for each zone. And so this is almost undescribable if one doesn't see it. But I think this is also unique in his work and in contemporary art, such a kind of discourse on light and time. So we can discuss it, how you are reacting to the windows.
Maybe we can say one more about the technique that he used, because he
Yes.
speaks a bit about it. So he says he chose first the material, then he looked for people who can do it. And there's one more link with you, because the windows were made in, finally the glass was made in Germany. He doesn't precise exactly where, but in a factory in Germany. And he produced this very, very long stripes of glass, which had these different materialities, and then he chose parts which seemed to him and composed all the different windows openings with the small pieces from the different blocks of glass. And then they polished the outside and kept the inside in a very rough way. So
that is
this is
polished at the outside
yes.
and structured in the inside.
There's grain. And in fact, if you go to the church, you can touch it really.
Yeah.
Upstairs there is, you can feel the material. I did it. It's written not, do not touch. But
So you didn't do it. Good to know.
I should not say it on camera.
The police will be arrested like after. I would just maybe, well, on one hand ask, on the other hand just try to reflect a bit on the central topic also of this book. The book which Hans used is a discussion between Pierre Soulage and Jacques Le Goff, which, as you know, is probably the major historian of Middle Ages in the 20th century. He studied in he was part of the Annales, the generation after Brno, so quite important person for Middle Ages. I would say that he's the visible face for Middle Ages, even outside of history, so really quite amazing person. And the question is the pertinence, the legitimacy of put artwork like this one into the medieval space. And well, except for the discussion, I wanted just to add something, because I would say that for me it was really amazing. When I went to Conques the first time, I didn't realize that the stained glass windows were from Soulage. I even didn't saw them because of my, let's say, medieval eyes. I was looking for the tympanum, the space, I was not looking at all to the windows. The second time it was completely different, because since we arrived, I was just fascinated by them. But the idea, of one hand, to play with the stones, because he's playing with the idea of divisible stones. And even if the stones are invisible, probably during the Middle Ages, the church as we have it now, the 19th century, Mérimée church, is constructed by invisible stones. So I think this dialogue, incredibly raffinated and with a certain tact, what is often like disappointing me with the 20th and 21st century art is that more than dialogue or specularity, there is a sort of reaction, violence against the previous space. And what fascinated me here with Soulage is really the harmony which he created into the space. And the second aspect about the legitimacy or not, for me, what was really quite important is that Conques is everything through the centuries. We have the beginnings into the 11th century. We have rests from 15th century. We have a lot of 19th century. So in this sense, Soulage is absolutely legitimate in Conques, because the Middle Ages is living now. We are the Middle Ages when we are looking back. And Soulage is doing it in an incredibly raffinated way, but we are living, and this is the reason for, this is the reason why those stained glass windows had a place here. And it's just like that. So I would even say that maybe the question of legitimacy is not a question. Middle Ages is now, and that's our Middle Ages today, with Soulage. So just an observation.
There is this interesting one which I didn't translate because it was a bit long. And he says, when you're in a place like the Church of Brno, you have a strong need to be distracted by no manifestation of the external world. So, for example, someone passing by or another building, which frequently happens with traditional glass, which is blurring the view only from outside to inside, not from inside to outside. And here it's inverted. I am persuaded that when Saint Bernard asked that the glass pieces were small on the windows, on the stained glasses, until he addicted a rule of how many small pieces of glass you have to put. It was to make the opacity stronger and to form a sort of curtain protecting from the profane world. And without knowing this regula of Saint Bernard, I realized that for Conques it's indispensable to have this opacity to the look. So there is also a reflection on the medial area of the window, because for me when I first heard it, I thought about late antique windows, or something very very close to the late antique world.
Right.
So then full of light, which is not maybe the medieval situation, because you have not the precise idea what were the original windows in Conques, but you can imagine if they use glass, which is not sure, they would probably use the cheaper one, which was green and the, let's say, the beer bottles color, because it's the cheapest glass. The second possibility was the use of skins of animals, very teeny skins, like pergamon, let's say, which can filtrate a bit of light. And the third possibility is stones, like alabaster, which would be quite strange in this region because to be, I would say, too expensive, but it's not impossible. So there are the three main possibilities. But you are before, in a certain sense, the main invention of the stained glass windows of the following centuries, of the following century. So are there any other questions, observations, remarks? Karen?
Maybe when you were speaking about this protection from outside and the light inside, so it's really the impression I had when we arrived here, and I didn't pay attention to the windows, and when we were passing, I thought that the windows are closed with volets, with just some barriers like this, and that there is, in fact, there are no windows because they are closed, or just there are some strange kind of protection of the windows. And then when we entered inside, I realized that there is the light, and it's nice. So I think it's really working, this protection from outside and the light inside.
Any other questions?
Yes, but also the old Gothic cathedral windows, they function as seeing them from the inside,
Yeah.
not from the outside.
Absolutely.
From the outside they are opaque. From the inside, so he is actually following a very old tradition of colored glass window on his own ways.
Except for the night. That's really interesting. In recent months, Vladimir Ivanovich demonstrated how the use of the glass from outside was a question of the night. When you illuminated the space during the night, inside suddenly the baptistry becomes a lantern. In the same sense, if you imagine the Gothic stained glass windows, during the night suddenly you see them from outside, and it's the same in Soulage. When you are walking during the night and in the church they are still praying, or early in the morning, you see the colors of the candles outside only through the windows. So there is this dialogue which is like constructed during the night. Cynthia?
No one has said anything about water, and the effect to me is so fluid, and there's a sense of sort of rhythm and whirls, disturbances that are to me like water, and I just wonder whether Soulage ever said something like that.
In this small book he doesn't speak about water, but he speaks about letting himself follow lines which are not the lines of the building.
Yeah.
So something that is not following the flow of the building, but is following its own flow. So in the idea of flow, of course, there is water, but he doesn't mention specifically water. But he mentions them as stone. He likes the fact that they look like stone, which is translucent, however. And light.
So, crystal rock, basically. Translucent stone.
It's just my short observation and my feeling which I had in the church, and I will use this picture. What I really like is the dialogue, of course with the light, but more with the sun shining, let's say, because when outside there is just, I don't know, it's morning and it's just dark clouds and there is no sunshine. The window is just gray and nothing is happening. But when there is the where there is a like I don't know the sun rising or sunset, it suddenly starts to play with different colors, and it's a really contradiction to what we can see, for example, in the cathedrals, because the glasses, they are colored, so it's color all the day, and it doesn't matter what's happening outside. But here it's really important what's happening outside, and it's reflected inside the church. But it just seems, I don't know, it just seems interesting to me. But I think it's my like personal stuff. Yeah.
Okay, if there nothing else, I think we can just conclude. I would like to thank everybody for participation to this workshop. For me it was quite interesting. Thank you a lot to Cynthia, thank you to Zible who already did that, and thank you very much to Hans. I hope for you, like students, even though I didn't really like this hierarchical distinction between students and the non-students, we are just discussing together because you have one passion, and it's the passion that is giving the sense to what we are doing here and now. We don't need the grades, we need just the passion and curiosity. Hans told it like a couple of minutes ago that what makes sense is passion and curiosity. And I will also take the occasion to say thank you to Peter, who is working all the time in order to transmit what we are doing. And I will just add that I'm doing it for the Masaryk University especially, that he's doing it by patient, for patient, and because he's curious, because that's something important, to have persons who are working in apparently non-academic positions, but who are doing it because they believe it makes sense. So, thank you very much to everybody, and if you would like to participate to the last moment of this workshop, then my lecture, you are welcome. If you're just bored by my person, you can get a beer, I will understand you. And I will just remind you that we have the dinner which will start today at around 8, because we have first to support my lecture. And I suppose that you'll maybe get even a small party to celebrate the fact that we survived this first week of workshop. Thank you very much.